Good vibrations. Now, those of you who were here 2 Sundays ago know why I chose this theme. For those of you who weren't here, you see, Joanne Franklin introduced me to Unity in 1972, and it changed my life. And I would talk about all the mistakes I had made, and Joanne would quickly chastise me. She had some Joannisms. She has crossed on to the other side, but I'll never forget what she taught me. And one of the things she says, Sandra, there's no such thing as a mistake. It's misunderstood good. Misunderstood good. So you might have misunderstood me when last Sunday, for those of you, or 2 Sundays ago, for those who weren't here, I was trying to encourage you to turn off your cell phones and to put them on vibrate. And I accidentally slipped and said, turn off your vibrator. So they've been ribbing me about this ever since. Every meeting I go to, someone asks me about my vibrator. So I thought, you know, when life gives you lemons, you know, you make lemonade. Choose to turn this into something good. So I couldn't get this out of my head, good vibrations. It started playing. And after the service that day, during the spiritually speaking discussion group, I walked in a little late because there were so many people lined up to talk to me about what I had said. And lo and behold, the first word I heard, and I didn't hear the context, was something about vibrations. And ever since then, I've been hearing about vibrations. So I chose to wear the color purple today because it's one of the highest vibrating colors in the spectrum. It's a powerful color. And you're powerful. Because whether you know it or not, each of you is vibrating at a certain frequency. Every cell and atom in your body vibrates. The chairs you're sitting in are vibrating. The floor is vibrating. The walls are vibrating. Now, when Guglielmo Marconi tried to explain to people that these vibrations crossed the span of space, people thought he was crazy. And then he tested it out when he introduced us to radio that transmitted across the world. And today we have wireless. We can talk to and see people instantly because of Marconi. He understood the power of vibration and the fact that everything in the universe is vibrating. So that's what I'm talking about today. I'm going to get into the metaphysical meaning and a little scripture, but before I do, the young man who sang the solo here, Good Vibrations, was one of my Sunday school students. That tells you how old he is. Thank you, Lucas. There was a Sunday school teacher teaching a class here at Unity Temple. It might have been me. And Lucas might have been this little boy. And she was telling them the story of Lot and his wife. And they were all intent listening to this story. And she said that God told Lot to take his wife and flee out of the city. But his wife disobeyed God and turned back. And she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, you would have thought that the kids had a lot of questions about that. But Lucas Farrago raised his hand and said, what happened to the flea? Wait for it. So today I'm going to talk to you about another lesson, the story of Joshua, and it's about vibration. The story of the walls of Jericho. You'll find it in the book of Joshua, the 6th chapter through the 1st through the 20th verse. I'm going to paraphrase, and then I'm going to give you a little metaphysical interpretation, how that applies to you and me. This is what happened. 400 years, the Israelites had been trying to make it to the promised land. Abraham was their leader, appointed by God. And Abraham was promised by God that he would have an entire nation, and his nation would have a home. Well, Abraham passes away. Joshua had worked with Abraham. He was sort of like his assistant. And Joshua was given command over the Israelites to take them further to the promised land where Abraham left off. So they get almost to the promised land and they come across this huge wall. And it's the city of Jericho. It's on lockdown. I've never been on lockdown, but that's got to be scary. You can't get out, and they don't want any Israelites in there. Joshua was given specific instructions. He had 600,000 people that he was leading. They were to walk around the wall for 7 days. You know, that can create quite a vibration. Imagine 600,000 people walking around this temple. There were 7 priests among his people, and they were to blow the ram's horns on the 7th day after they all marched around 7 times that day. And as they blew their horns, the people were supposed to shout as loudly as they could. Now, just the marching alone caused the temple walls to weaken a little bit. Now, they weren't made out of the same materials that we have today, but they began to weaken. And when the horns blew and the people shouted, the walls came tumbling down. Now, every Sunday, we have a part of our practice where we go into the silence. And that's the part of the story that I left out that's significant for you, because during those 6 days, they were supposed to march in silence, not utter a sound. The power of their marching was almost deafening. I tell you this because I want you to understand the importance of the silence. You can speak louder in the silence than many people can when they make a lot of noise. Metaphysically, Jericho stands for resistance to truth. Resistance. All of us have or have had Jericho in our lives. What's your Jericho? Is there something in your life that seems to be getting in your way from fulfilling God's promise of who you came here to be? Jericho. The walls and the story have a powerful meaning for us that I ill understood as a child. When I heard stories about the walls came tumbling down, as I got older, I thought, well, that can't happen. Or Jonah being swallowed by a whale and then being spit out. Oh, come on. Like the little boy in the story, like Lucas, what happened to the flea? I would be stuck on the literal interpretation of what this means. But metaphysically, it means lifting up in consciousness. If you take the whole story in total, it is talking about rising above your obstacles or your circumstances, breaking through those barriers and those walls. And it's telling us that we all have the power to do that. It comes from the frequency at which we are vibrating. When we're vibrating at a low frequency, we don't feel quite like ourselves. Something just is a little off, and other people notice. When we're vibrating at a higher frequency, you walk in the room and somebody's going to say, wow, What have you done? You look spectacular. I get energy when I'm around you. Personal story that happened just this morning on my way here. I was driving down Volker, getting ready to turn onto Main. And across the street on the corner, there were two people sitting on the ground I presumed were homeless, because that's a corner that is often frequented by the homeless. I was at the stoplight on the opposite side, and I saw a police car with lights flashing pulling up behind another car at that corner. So since I was at the light, I had time to observe what was going on. My heart started to skip a beat because I thought that maybe the police officer was there to shoo away the panhandlers. But what happened next sent chills up my spine. I felt a vibration from the tip of my toes to the top of my head as I sat in my car and observed. The police officer got out of the car, walked over to the two people sitting on the ground with a brown paper bag, and handed it to them, and then stood there and talked for a minute. The light changed and I didn't get to say much, and I wanted to just start a horn honking campaign, but I thought the people in front of me would have thought I was being rude, so I let my window down. I honked my horn a few times to get the attention of the officer and the two people, and I did a thumbs up. That raised my vibration today. Just seeing someone do something randomly kind for someone else elevated my frequency. And I just had to share that with you. It's like when we hear the temple singers or the choir belt out a high-spirited song and we leap to our feet. It just gives you chills. All of us vibrate almost at the same rate in those times. You may come in here feeling blue or down, but you get a load of this music and you are instantly up and on your feet. Now, you can do that for yourself. You don't need an army of people shouting. You don't need a choir singing. You don't need to witness someone else doing a random act of kindness. You have the potential and power within you to raise your vibration to levels that you've probably not even experienced yet. So how does this work, this vibration thing? No batteries. No assembly required. You are already fully equipped. You are human vibrators. By thinking and feeling in a positive way, you not only have the power to change your life, but you have the power to change the world. During those Sunday afternoon discussion groups, spiritually speaking, 11:45, you're encouraged to come and join us. Often, someone will ask the question, how can I change the world? How can little old me do anything that will really make a difference? We talk about situations going on around the country. We talk about things that are going on around the world, and even personal challenges. What can I do? By raising your own vibration, you can send a ripple effect that will change the world. Now, you might not believe this, but there are some folks already doing some things that you might be interested in. There's an organization, and this organization is testing the vibration levels around the world, the frequencies at which we vibrate. During 9/11, they have a random numbering machine that is constantly ticking numbers away. This organization is called EGG. I can't remember what that stands for, but Global Random Numbering System. And during 9/11, right before it happened, the numbers went crazy, indicating to these scientists that people all over the world felt something. There was a vibration in consciousness that something was about to happen. You ever get that feeling? Just feel like something's getting ready to happen. I just feel it. And so that says to me that when we're all in sync, on the same page, singing from the same sheet of music, vibrating at the same rate, raising our frequency, we can impact the world. You should try this out. A closer to home example happened last week during that same discussion group. Reverend Julian Telesford shared with us that he was trying to get to the Unity Convention, the People's Convention in Albuquerque. And when he checked the airfares, they were a little bit more than what he wanted to pay. So he checked other modes and he ended up with Greyhound. Now, Reverend Telesford is here and he won't mind me telling you that he's an octogenarian. And so he was thinking, okay, Greyhound bus ride, 17 hours, okay, I can do it. I can do it. And then the next wall, the next Jericho experience was, they told him he couldn't leave his car at the bus station. And he wasn't sure how he would get there. And he happened to mention that. And two of us spoke up and said, we'll take you to the bus station and we'll pick you up when you get back. Now, the reason his Jericho experience didn't end up causing him to cancel his trip was because he spoke what he wanted into existence. He asked for what he wanted, and Spirit answered. And he got to the bus stop on time. He made his trip on time, 17 hours, and he came back. And he's back home, and his car never left his garage. It's all about knowing what is the wall, what is the obstacle, what is standing in your way. Asking for what you want, and then putting energy into achieving your goals through prayer and meditation. It's all about vibrating at the same level. Reverend Catherine Thomas was at that same convention, and I had shared with Reverend Telesford on my way taking him to the Greyhound bus station about my talk today. And oh, he got excited. He shared ideas. And the next day, Reverend Gregory Geis of Detroit Unity Temple was doing a workshop and a talk about unity, getting involved more in community and making our statements known and letting our voices be heard to help put an end to some of the turmoil that's going on around us. To let that Jericho wall come tumbling down. And guess what? She called me the next day. She says, you won't believe this. But Reverend Gregory Geis talked about the power. Now this was something. The power of vibration. He and I had never talked. I didn't know he was going to be speaking on the subject. Julian didn't know or wouldn't have known that I was speaking on it if I hadn't shared it. But it just goes to show you that we're all synced up together. We're all from one mind, one source, the truth. We can tap into the energy that each other is experiencing. That's why sometimes when someone is feeling down, it brings you down. When someone's feeling up, you lift up. But we don't have to do that because we can maintain our own inner spiritual vibration. I've given you a few things to think about. How to shift our consciousness. How to create a ripple effect, like throwing a rock across the pond. When you think positive thoughts, you get positive results. And not just for yourself. But the ripple effect goes on and on and on until it reaches the world. We have enough power in this room right now to light up the world. Because we are human vibrators. I encourage you to practice your power of vibration. And let's start now through prayer and meditation when we go into the silence.
Spirit is already sending you good vibrations. All you need to do is be still. Be still and tap into that frequency. Circle your obstacles, just as the Israelites circled the walls of Jericho. Know that nothing is impossible with God. The vibrations of your thoughts, your words, and your actions set off a wave of energy throughout this sanctuary, throughout this community, throughout the world. You are the change that you want to see in your life and in your world. For greater is the one that is in you than any obstacle that may be in your way. Take these thoughts as your own. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, light, and love. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit as we let go of any outer distractions and let our spirits vibrate with higher consciousness in the silence, in the silence. As we return to this sacred space and time, I want you to take with you the rest of the day, the rest of the week, this thought that you have a choice each and every day. Say these words as your own. I choose to feel blessed. I choose to feel grateful. I choose to be excited. I choose to be thankful. I choose to be happy. And by choosing those thoughts, you change your vibration. Change your vibrations, and you will change the world. And so it is. There is a time for loving. There is a time for embracing. Throwing past stones away. There is a time for healing. There is a time for forgiving. There is a time for building bridges. And that time is now. And that time is now.